Justin here, we are back. I feel like I haven't done one of these in a while. It's only been a few days. I had a busy weekend last weekend. My band was in town and we rehearsed for a few days and we played a big show with Incantation. And it was fucking awesome. And then I went right back to work, and I've been at work all week, or all weekend this weekend. I'm filming this on Sunday night. So we're back. More CDs in the CD collection. We're almost done with the C section. We are listening to Def Leppard. This is On Through the Night, their first album. So Def Leppard is one of the first bands I ever discovered on my own and got into when I was like 7 years old. I was seven or eight when Hysteria came out. And I was fucking mesmerized by Hysteria. I loved that album. Funny enough, now, 30 years later, I don't own a copy of it. But I do have On Through the Night on tape, and I have Pyromania on LP. But On Through the Night was their first record, and it is so far removed from that poppy glam sound of Def Leppard from the late 80s and early 90s. As a matter of fact, I pulled this out the other day. One of my buddies in my band started to talk shit about Def Leppard, and I said, man, listen to this shit. It riffs hard. You know, they were more or less a new wave of British heavy metal band back then. This came out in '86. No, this tape came out. This came out in '80. So I mean, it's so far ahead of its time. It rocks. It's upbeat. It's full of riffs. Joe Elliott kind of sounds like Z Parks from Witchfinder General. They were young, and it's just, man, it's a young fucking dirty rock band. And On Through the Night, fucking so good. Okay, into the C's, into the CDs. Up first, we have one album from Ceremonium. This is No Longer Silent. This came out on Destro Records. Destro Records was the record label of one of the guitarists in this band. Ceremonium was a New York, New Jersey death metal band from the 90s. This record was their second album. It came out in 2000. I think they did a demo after this. This was their second record. Only one I have, and they split up shortly thereafter. The Ceremonium played kind of ethereal, atmospheric death metal. Not as violent sounding as something like Morpheus Descends or Incantation or Immolation. Those bands were certainly peers of Ceremonium, but Ceremonium was kind of doomy, almost like early My Dying Bride, a little bit of Evoking, but heavy, fast. They had fast parts, they had slow parts, but just good, somber, atmospheric death metal. I want to get the rest of their stuff. I actually listened to this today. I pulled these CDs and I said, man, I haven't listened to that forever, so I put it in. And the bass player on this was a guy named, you can't see this, Pasquale Recca, better known as Lino Recca. Lino is in the band Villains, which is a New York kind of street metal, thrash metal band. Imagine if Bathory was half Italian and from Brooklyn. That's what Villains sounds like. But Lino, I know, and I've done some work with his band, and my band played a fest in Brooklyn in 2012, and Lino came to see us, and we hung out for a little bit, and either he gave me this then, or I got this at another. We played a show in New Jersey in 2008, 10 years ago, and I may have gotten it there, is what I'm kind of leaning towards. I've had this about 10 years. Anyway, Ceremonium, No Longer Silent. It fucking rules. So, next we have one CD from Saracloth. This is Pandemonium Prayers. This is an EP, and to the best of my knowledge, this came before. Yeah, this came before their first full length, and this kind of sounds like Deicide. And I remember that on their full length after this, that kind of sound has shifted. But this is only 4 songs, came on Hell's Headbangers. I want to say around 2008 or 2009. But it's just fast, fucking uncompromising death metal. Oh, and it's got a Deicide cover on it, Lunatic of God's Creation. That might be why I think it sounds like Deicide. But this was good. I haven't kept up with them, but I always liked this EP. Alright, next we have a very special CD. This is Charnel Valley with The Dark Archives. This is Marty Worm. This is his band with Craig Zahler. Craig Zahler and Marty were both writers for Metal Maniacs, and any metalhead, extreme metalhead from the 90s, you know Metal Maniacs. And I read so many things that Craig and Marty wrote, and this was their black metal band. Now, honestly, I haven't listened to this in a long, long time, but I remember really liking it. I think I got this for a review when I used to write for deadtide.com, but it's just grim black metal, and Marty's a great guy. Craig Zahler has gone on. He's a big-time Hollywood movie director. He directed Bone Tomahawk, and you need to watch it. It's like if a Western meets Cannibal Holocaust. It's fucking awesome. But Charnel Valley, good shit. I don't know if they did anything else besides this CD. I have to ask Marty or look it up. But check it out and go give Marty's channel a watch if you haven't. I'll put a link in the description. Funny story, this came out on Paragon Records. So my band played a show in New Jersey in 2008 that I just mentioned. And as everybody's were loading in, it was more of a fest. There was like 10 or 12 bands that day. And it's at a club, bar, venue place. There's a distro setting up. And they just got box after box of CDs, and music's blaring on the PAs. And I leaned over and I said, "Oh, who are you guys with? What distro are you?" And he said, "Paragon." Well, I heard Paragon as Power God. And I was like, fuck yeah, Power God Records. It was only later I realized they were Paragon when they put their fucking banner up. And I've never told anybody that story, but it's one of those things you think about 10 years later and you're like, fuck. Anyway, Power God Records. Good shit. Next, we have Chainsaw with Smell the Saw. This is a thrash band. It came out on World Chaos Productions in 2004. From the best of my memory, this is just kind of standard thrash metal. I don't remember. I got this in a trade, and I listened to it once or twice, but I don't know. It's got a really nice booklet. It's on kind of a matte stock, so it's not glossy, and there's a bunch of pages here. I think these guys are European of some persuasion. I don't remember. The World Chaos Productions, I think, is Japanese. I think, yeah. Looks that way. But Chainsaw, Smell the Saw, don't know shit about it. Just one of those CDs that ends up on the shelf. Next, we have two CDs from Chainsaw Dissection. Chainsaw Dissection is a project from Body Bag Bob McCobb. Bob McCobb is a guy from somewhere in New England that has had several, and when I say several, I mean dozens of, no, the Butcher Bob McCobb. Body Bag Bob is in Exhumed. The Butcher Bob McCobb, he plays everything on these albums. Now, this is Chainsaw Dissection's demo. It's called Blood, Gore, and Grindcore. Prior to, ooh, here we go. Prior to Chainsaw Dissection, he was in a band called Dog Mulch. I have no idea what the fuck Dog Mulch means. This is a demo that he sent me, CDR. This sounds just like Mortician. And to the best of my knowledge, from what I remember, so does Chainsaw Dissection. This is a self-release demo. This is printed on computer paper. And I guess I just shoved the Dog Mulch CD in here. This is at least 10 years old. But it's dirty, nasty, thick, down-tuned, blown out death metal with a drum machine. And this was the first full-length, I believe, Remnants of the Slaughterhouse This has got a much better layout and design to it, but it's also just printed on computer paper at home. He did it himself. 2005, so this is like 13 years old. And I was on Metal Archives recently. For some reason, I looked this up, and I think this guy's got like 20 fucking albums of this, and another dozen projects. But Chainsaw Dissection, just brutal death metal, mortician worship. It satisfies an urge every so often. Alright, next we have a black metal band. This is Charnel Winds with Der Teufelsbund. This came out on Werewolf Records a few years ago. I did the layout for this. I did all of the design for this album. The artwork was done by Marco Morov. So some very killer pen and ink illustrations all through the book. But I did all of the typography and all of the background, all the image manipulation. I put the whole thing together for print. Werewolf Records, of course, is Laurie from Satanic Morasters label. But this is good finished black metal. I've always liked Charnel Winds. This is the only thing I own by them. But this is a good record. It's kind of esoteric sounding, kind of orthodox sounding, you know. But it's good. It's real good. This came out in like 2010-ish, somewhere around there, I think. But Charnel Winds, good band. Okay, this was bound to happen. We've come to the first one of my bands. And I mention my bands a lot, but I never mention them by name because I don't want people to just... I don't want to talk about my bands all the time. So as I come to them in the CD collection, I will talk about which bands are which. But this is one of my bands. This was a project that I did myself called Chasm of Nis. Chasm of Nis. So, this was the demo. I did 2 demos. One of them never got released. It's just digital. It's on Bandcamp. But this was called Redolent of Spheres. And this was the first 4-song demo. So it's got a little obi strip thing on it. And this is just printed on cardboard. You've got a little fold out with the lyrics and credits. And I got kind of fancy with it. And some shit's printed upside down. Here's the back. The artwork is actually a picture of a spider web that I have manipulated and copied and pasted on itself to be symmetrical. This is a project I did. When did I record this? It doesn't say. Oh, 2012. So this is, I mean, it's 5 years old. And it is just, it's me trying to do Portal. It's just experimental, kind of cacophonous, noisy, death metal. Very, very heavily H.P. Lovecraft influenced. Chasm of Nis itself is taken straight out of a Lovecraft story. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but this was just noisy, cacophonous death metal. Unlike anything I'd ever done, it's not like Incantation, it's not like Suffocation, it's not like Cannibal Corpse, but the #1 influence on this was Portal. And on the second demo, I used an 8-string guitar, so it's down-tuned and there's lots of notes and lots of movement with the guitars. But I recorded everything. All the drums are programmed, but I think they're done tastefully. But this was #1 of 100. I did 100 of these. I don't have any more of them left. So if you track one down, if you want it, check it out. Chasm of Nis, Redolent of Spheres. I'll put a link in the description below. So, here we have something that is not metal. This is Chromatics with Night Drive. So, Chromatics is a kind of a dark electronic pop band, and I have a special relationship with this band. About 10 years ago, I was having some, life wasn't going great, and I was talking to my buddy Nathan Burke one night, and I said, I want something that's not metal. I want something kind of poppy but dark. I want just dark, grim pop music. And he sent me a link to Chromatics. And I listen to this album so much, and it puts me in a headspace now, you know, 8, 9, 10 years later, that it takes me right back to that place. So this one and M83's Saturdays Equals Youth are the two albums that I listened to over and over again during that period of my life. This was their second album. If you've ever seen the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling, they had some music on that. Chromatics kind of sounds the way that movie looks. Any Nicholas Winding Refn movie, they've done music in all of them. But Chromatics is the brainchild of Johnny Jewel. Johnny Jewel plays guitars in this band and keyboards, and he owns the label that puts out all their music. Has a female vocalist, but it's somber. It's the kind of music, you know, you drink wine to and turn off all the lights and you just kind of zone out to. But this is such a fucking incredible record. I'll put a link in the description below. It's got a cover of Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush that just, in my opinion, slays the original and every other cover of that song that's ever been done. But I just absolutely love this record. I love the record that came after it. I have all their shit on vinyl. But I cannot praise this enough. Okay. Next we have Church Bazaar back into death metal with Sick Luciat Lux. This is a double disc, came out on Hell's Headbangers 2003 to 2007. It's everything they recorded. I have not listened to this a whole lot. I bought it when it came out. It looked cool. It's a good record. It's got a really rad, you know, huge booklet here. It's printed on very heavy stock. One thing that Hell's Headbangers has never done is skimp on their packaging. It's got this silver embossed foil stamp on the cover. Church Bazaar's from somewhere odd. I don't remember. I'll have to look and put it in the description below. But they're from some strange country. Maybe not. Maybe they're just Norwegian or something. I don't remember. I haven't listened to this a whole lot, but I remember liking it. I have a couple of their 7-inches. I may have this on vinyl too. I used to do a lot of trades with Hell's Headbangers, so I have a lot of Hell's Headbangers stuff from like 2008 to 2014. A lot of it. I'll have to throw this in. Members of this band went on to do another band, and I can't remember the fucking name of it now. But I'll have to refresh my memory. So, Church Bazaar, good shit. I like their logo. It's real fucking gross looking. Next, we have Christ Agony with Unholy Union. Christ Agony is a death metal band. They're kind of doomy. They're kind of eerie sounding. This is the only thing I own by them. I've listened to this a bunch. Like, in the early days of my band, I listened to this a lot. So some of that influence seeped in there. I need to throw this on again because it's been a few years since I've listened to it. But I can't remember where. They've got several full lengths. I don't know where this falls. But it's just rad, just fucking 90s, you know, death black metal. I think that Christ Agony is Polish. They may be German. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But Christ Agony. Good shit. Alright. Next we have Cyanide, Gods of Death. Cyanide, Chicago death metal band. They're super fucking heavy. Admittedly, I'm not a big fan. I've never even opened this. I got it in a trade from Hell's Headbangers. I have listened to this. I think I opened one when I had a bunch of them in stock, and I listened to one that I opened, but I ended up selling it or something. I don't know. But I've listened to this a few times. I need to open this one up and throw it in. Not a big Cyanide fan. It's never clicked with me a lot, but I don't dislike Cyanide, if that makes any sense. So next we have something I have no idea what this is. This is Circadian with Flanking the Black Moose. That sounds stupid as fuck. This is on Ibon Records, which of course is a nod to the Beyond, one of the greatest movies ever made. I got this in that giant trade I talk about all the time. I don't know what, this could be rock and roll, it could be electronica, it could be death metal. I have no fucking clue what this is or what it sounds like. So we will find out together when I put it in the description below. All right, and we have Claws with Absorbed in the Nether Void. That's such a good title. So Claws was a death metal band project from Lassie Pika from Hooded Menace. I think he did everything on this. Yeah, all music by Lassie. This was just kind of cavernous death metal, you know, what was hot at the moment when this came out 10 years ago. 2009, came out on Razorback. So Lassie, of course, I was around. I was part of kind of the handful of people when Hooded Menace got started. And I know the backstory to that band, and I don't like them. I think they're boring. I think they're overrated. I think that it's funny the way that they came to be and they're so popular now, and we'll get into that later. But Claws was a record that he did, just kind of, hey, I'm going to do a death metal record, and it's pretty good. Lassie also did a band called Vacant Coffin, and I like Vacant Coffin a lot more, and we'll get to that much later when we get to the V's. But this was just a good one-off project. It wasn't a band. I don't think it was meant to ever do much more than this. I think this is all they did. I'll have to refresh my memory on Metal Archives. But Claws, Absorbed in the Nether Void, good stuff. So even though I have my own qualms about the person behind the band. One more. This is Coffin with Coffin, I guess. Unholy thrash metal. This is still sealed. Got it in the giant trade I talk about all the time. There's 5 songs on here. Came out in Carrion Crawler Records in 2008. Don't know anything about it. You know. But, I'll tell you this. So looking here, the picture of the bass player, that's Damien Glonick. I know Damien. I'm probably going to see him this weekend. We've never met, but Damien is part of the same kind of horror movie, heavy metal group of guys that we've all been friends for a long, long time on Facebook and MySpace. And Damien is the owner of Living Dead dolls. You can buy those in Hot Topic and Spencer Gifts, and they're real popular with teenagers. But he's the one that started that company. So this is his band. I'll have to open it up and check it out. So, that's it for this round. Almost done with the C's. We're going to get back into it. Full steam ahead. I'm trying to do these every 2 to 3 days. I got some ideas for some new stuff. I'm going to start doing a new series called 5-Minute Favorites, where I pull a random CD that I really, really like, and I talk about it for 5 minutes. Little quick videos to get you by. And we'll keep doing. I got a stack of new stuff building up. I'll do another new stuff video here soon. But let's talk about this stuff in the comments. I'll put a link for everything in the description below so we can listen to it. And I'll talk to you guys later.